Phil, thanks very much for your time. What are your first memories of this great venue?
Just coming here as a fan, watching a lot of cricket, watching England lift the World Cup here was one of the main ones. But I've watched a lot of cricket on this ground as a kid, and to be back playing here is really special.
Yeah, how exciting is it to be pulling on the England jersey and getting out there in a World Cup?
Really, it's something that, as a kid you dream of it, but you never think it's actually going to happen. But now to come here as defending champs and have the opportunity to play for England here I can't put it into words.
What was the cricket like growing up here? What just explain to people how that worked when you were younger.
Well, very competitive for a start. There's cricket every night of the week. I played literally every night of the week and twice on a weekend. So, it was my life for a long time. And I probably owe a lot, in my own development to Barbados.
Right, where's your game at now? International cricket. You're not a kid playing down the road in a club game. Where would you say your game has moved forward in the last 18 months?
I think more than anything, gaining the experience at international level. I feel like that's a big part of it. Not necessarily any one thing in particular, but it's the experience and the backing. Obviously I've had to have a good look at myself last year, and find areas I can score better and ways I can be more effective against different types of bowling. And I feel like it's something I've done. We've got a good team of analysis with us, so I lent on them a little bit and the coaching staff, and hopefully my game's in a better place now than it was 18 months ago.
So when you had a good honest conversation with yourself, is it a mindset change as much as anything? Because no one can doubt your training or your work ethic.
Yeah, it's a mindset thing. As a group, we've spoken a lot about doing what the game requires from us, and I feel like you need the full sort of toolbox to be able to do that as well as you can.
Opening the batting with Joss, you compare Jason Roy and Alex Hales a few years ago. They had a lovely dynamic because Jason went really hard to start with, and that allowed Alex just to have a little look, and then he went. Is it a similar dynamic with you and Joss?
It is. It is. It's not something that's sort of forced too much. I like to get going early and put the bowlers on the back foot, and Joss likes to take a couple, but it's very natural. I'm not going out there with the mindset, go out and hit the first over for 20. I'm going out there with the mindset that, I'm going to assess the conditions and play the best way I can to get a score that will put us in a good position.
How much is it react? How much is it premeditated in T20 these days?
I feel like I feel like when you're out nick, you can premeditate quite a lot. I feel like when you're playing well and you've prepped right and you've done all your homework, I feel like you'll have one thing in your mind, but it's very much 99% reacting.
You've obviously been in terrific nick, IPL, and obviously played some sparkling little innings in that Pakistan series, but when a batter these days is playing a diet predominantly of T20 and perhaps falls out of nick a little bit, how hard is it to get back into nick by just netting?
It is hard. I feel like time in the middle is a bit of a cliche, but I think that's the most important thing. The sort of merry-go-round can spin faster and faster when you're out of nick, and you can't find your feet. I think it's quite a healthy thing to be playing all formats. I feel like my game's developed because of that. But yeah, you've just got to have really clear basics that as a player you can go back to 10 times out of 10 and know this is exactly what I'm doing and this is where I am.
Do you yearn for a long innings to be able to go out in a red ball game and just bat?
I quite like the idea of it when I'm playing red ball, but the minute it's about, how can I win this game, in almost as little time as possible, really. That's the mentality at times.
But to broaden your game and your skills, if you like, would you like to be part of the test setup under Brendon and Ben Stokes, given the style of cricket you play and the style of cricket they want to play?
I would, yeah. I'd love to be a part of it. I've said that before. It's exciting. I feel like, for myself though, you need to be able to play both ways still. I feel like it's not all crash bang wallop. You've got to be able to absorb pressure at times as well, and I feel like that's something I can do. So it may happen, it may not, but either way, I think right now the focus is out here.
Just with the red ball, do you think your wicket keeping skills may open that door to the test side?
I think so, yeah, potentially. There's been no sort of hard and fast conversations so far, but I feel like those conversations will happen most likely after the World Cup. So at the minute, I'm very much one day at a time sort of guy. So my head's here at the minute.
All right, well, let's deal with one day, and that day comes tomorrow, the start of the World Cup. What are the challenges that Scotland will pose you?
They're a good side. They've shown that over a long period of time. They've got some really good cricketers. We're not taking them lightly. We've got to give them maximum respect, and it's our job to turn up and do exactly what we need to do. And I've already said it once, but do what the game requires of us and turn up and be at 100% intensity.
But with the rain around, and the games you should win might be affected by rain, it might bring the sides a bit closer together. Are you in any way thinking of net run rate? We sort of saw West Indies try and do that yesterday against PNG and slightly came unstuck.
Yeah, cricket over here is different. We all know that. We've played enough out here. Things like the tackiness of the wicket in the morning. Is that a risk you take? And then used surfaces, it might get harder to chase on. The wind is a massive factor. It's things that all over the world necessarily aren't factors, but over here they are. So it's very different. And the bottom line is, as a team, you've got to be able to skin the cat in more than one way. And whatever happens, you've got to find a way to get the win.
You mentioned the wind. Now, we've always been talking about like the spinners and which end they're going to bowl and getting batters to hit into the breeze. But I've just been watching you fielding all around the ground. It's going to affect the fielders as well, isn't it? How far was that ball travelling in the air once it had been hit?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. As soon as you get it up, the wind just takes it. It's a challenge for sure, bowling, batting, and fielding. But I feel like as a group we've done all our prep and we've spoken about it a lot. So hopefully, that's a tick in the box for us, and hopefully we manage that really well.